Maybe this is like, Evans is like, I want to peak for the premiere. You know what I mean?
It could just as easily be that. The life of a working actor like him is you're constantly auditioning. Knowing that there's going to be a lot of cameras on you, you kind of feel that pressure to have to look your best back.
Why do you think he nor the studio are confirming specifically that he is going to be in the film?
I think it's possible that his scene is going to be limited to just the opening scene, and his involvement is the fact that it could be as brief as it is might spoil something about the opening scene. In 2021, Rob McElhenney, he said, I'm going to break it down for you because it's actually quite simple and anybody can do this. Anybody on the planet can do this. First things first, if you have a job, like a 9-to-5 job, quit that. How swole does a Marvel actor have to be until we are convinced that they are coming back in an Avengers movie? Is it like, 20 inches on those biceps? Is it more? Is it less? We'll talk about that as we talk about these rumors. This is the Rumor Rundown, where hosts of New Rockstars investigate the wildest rumors that nerds and newsmen can't make heads or tails of, applying our own backgrounds in journalism and Hollywood connections and fitness, and finally confirming whether those rumors are honest scoops or bullshit poops. We are Erik Voss and Zach Huddleston.
Thrilled to be here, Erik. My second appearance ever on Rumor Rundown. One time I came on with Jessica, and now I'm excited to be here with you. It's scooping and a pooping.
We don't have a specific scooping and poop, but we had to talk about this because, Chris Evans made an appearance at TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival, promoting this movie Sacrifice that I don't think it's getting great reviews. But one thing that is getting good reviews is his fit.
Also, a movie with Chris Evans and Anya Taylor-Joy that, until we started talking about doing this show today, I had never heard of. I watch every movie trailer. I read the trades. Somehow Sacrifice has completely floated away from me.
So what's crazy about this is there was no trailer for this online anywhere. I looked as well. It's a lot of these indie films, when they go to these festivals, whether it's Telluride or TIFF or Cannes or any of these, they don't have trailers, and it's only after they get distribution. Yeah. But sometimes they still do have trailers. Sometimes they're really produced by major studios and do get trailers.
And frequently at TIFF or New York Film Festival or Telluride or whatever, there will be the debut of a movie that is about to come out. The Smashing Machine, I think, just debuted also that was maybe at Venice. And that's opening later this month. But also sometimes at the same festival will be a movie that will not come out till next year.
Right.
Or does not have a studio attached yet, hasn't been sold, so may never come out.
Yeah.
Maybe that is the case with this.
And that's part of the fun for people who cover this, like our friends at The Ringer and Collider. They'll kind of follow these festivals because it is part of the magic of that, the little magic that still exists in Hollywood, the unpredictability that sometimes a movie can come from out of nowhere and completely take over the town and end up becoming a Best Picture winner or become a huge $100 million hit coming out of these festivals. I mean, no one was really thinking about Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yes, it did have Agbo behind it, but still, it was a kind of a surprise hit, and it made over $100 million for A24. That's a huge, huge accomplishment. So it's really cool when you can sometimes just the magic or the vibe of a festival, especially when that magic can come from an organic word of mouth and not Harvey Weinstein just demanding to have as many meetings with publicists as he can, which is kind of what Sundance turned into at some point. Anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. We are talking about the most important showstopper at one of these festivals, Chris Evans. And let's take a look at that fit as he comes out on the red carpet. My goodness me, he's got some guns at that gun show. No, the guy he's in good shape. And I talked about this in a video this week. In fact, let's let the scoopers ask the question. All right, this is coming from, this guy is fit. And this guy never skips any day.
I know, and no shirt.
No shirt, no pants, no nothing.
No service, sir.
No service. But shoes. Definitely got shoes on. All right, so here's the scoop that we're going to be talking about, or the rumor that we're going to talk about this week. Okay, so Chris Evans appearing at the Toronto International Film Festival, looking particularly swole. A lot of people say means that he must be returning as Steve Rogers in Avengers Doomsday, as it currently is in production right now. We're not attributing this to any one scooper this week. I think we got some of the scoopers on their heels as a result of doing this show.
It is
quiet.
truly scooper vacation season. I feel like all of them were like, let's just take September off.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. But what we're including ourselves among the scoopers here. That's right, me, Erik Voss from New Rockstars, all along was under this invisibility hat and sunglasses. I realized like I should commit to the part and actually not just wear sunglasses in a video if I'm doing this whole like undercover thing. So what we're going to talk about today, Zach, and you have some experience in this, is like what it really means for actors to have to get in a certain type of physical shape. And can you just by looking at an actor, eyeballing them, looking away, and then doing a double take to look back at them, can that assessment alone tell us whether they will be in a Marvel movie? What type of workout is really required? And do any of us really know just by looking at someone what kind of fitness and nutrition they're working with every week?
And is the current state of their body, reflective of the current state of their schedule and career?
Is this
right?
how they always look
Yes.
based off of how they just want to live their life?
We all have non-movie star friends that everyone's all get in shape or whatever, right? Or let themselves go. And that is unrelated to them being in a film, right? So, and the obviously the main conversation when this photo came out was like, whoa, he's jacked. This is all but confirmation that he's currently filming as Steve Rogers or will be shortly. But there were some people pushing back. That mentioned that Chris Evans is always in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that is even amongst the like current swath of ripped actors. Like you can go back, Chris Evans has been in films since like 2004 or whatever. He was incredibly fit for Not Another Teen Movie.
Mm-hmm.
What's Your Number? The Nanny Diaries. I mean, like those early 2000s. Obviously, his Johnny Storm.
Mm-hmm.
He had some quasi-nude scenes coming out of the shower, steam coming off, and like his body there, not entirely different than some of his Captain America appearances, with some exceptions I'm going to talk about in a second. Now he's also 44 years old. A lot of people don't have the same body at 44 as they did at 24. So kudos to Chris Evans for maintaining that shape. And I will say, like, it's tough to say. Again, he's had an incredibly consistent, fit physique for a long time. So it's hard to say in this photo how much more fit he is than normal. I will say people that follow fitness influencers or physique competitors or whatever online, that like angles, lighting. There's a lot of things that, can make you look, the same person on the same day can look completely different from one moment to a next based on some of that stuff. And this happens to be like the shot that really went viral. He's kind of turning and there's a lot of like pec outline. Yes. Bicep vein, narrow waist.
And tricep and shoulder. It's just like that combination. Whereas in the same photo shoot, there's some shots where his arms are at his sides and he doesn't look particularly superhero-y. He just looks like he's in good shape and healthy. Yes.
Well, and I think like, again, his body is varied. The iconic opening up Captain America First Avenger when it opens up with the big shirtless.
He was like crouched in a particular way where he clearly just did a whole bunch of push-ups before that take.
There is an angle to that shot. That shot is kind of shot from below, but the lighting is from above. He is oiled. Okay.
Yes. That's part of it.
Pumped. All right. And I think it's important to note that for actors, we'll focus mostly on male actors, but a lot of this applies to female actresses as well. But right, they know going into a film when and if they will have a shirtless and or quasi-nude scene. Right. And so even an incredibly fit actor like Chris Evans, like Chris Hemsworth, they are obviously always in good shape and they want to be in good shape for the duration of the movie, but they also know Tuesday the 14th is when the shirt comes off and they peak, right? Like they can plan that out. They have dietitians and trainers that know how to manage their water levels, their sodium intakes, their carb intakes, so that like, all of their veins can be popping out at a certain hour of a certain day. They're doing this while working like 12-hour days on a film. So it's not easy, but they also have a lot of help and people that are expert in that kind of stuff. So it's like that shot of Chris Evans, when the Erskine's chamber kind of opens up and he's got the giant swole muscles. Both there's some friendly angles and lighting and oil, but also I'm sure he's like, I need to look my most jacked
Mm-hmm.
today. Right. And so like, let's get the creatine in. Let's get some sugar into the muscles, all that kind of stuff. For that day, he's in great shape the whole movie, or at least from that point forward in the movie. Before that, he's some other skinny guy's body on
Right.
with Chris Evans's head. But so all that is to say, we might have also been catching maybe a tiff. Maybe this is like Evans is like, I want to peek for the premiere. You know what I mean?
It could just as easily be that. And because he's not just like the life of a working actor like him is you're constantly auditioning. And like to avoid having to actually record a tape and just people cast you based off of how you still look, like you knowing that there's gonna be a lot of cameras on you, you kind of feel that pressure to have to look your best. And it is hard. I can't imagine what these guys go through because like so much of his career is based off of his physique, you know?
Yes.
And that's even more challenging for people with as like extreme bodies and as specifically extreme bodies as like Dwayne Johnson, John Cena, Dave Bautista. And both Bautista and Johnson went through some very interesting transformations in the past year.
Yeah, I want to talk about that too. And I should just note, Chris Evans currently, after this movie that was premiering at TIFF, The Sacrifice, has no upcoming projects on his IMDb.
Well, we know he'll probably be in Doomsday,
yes.
right? But not because of how he looked at the red carpet, but because the Hollywood Reporter said he would like a year ago. And like, we have a good feeling. Why not? Why wouldn't he come back?
Why do you think he nor the studio are confirming specifically that he is going to be in the film?
I think it's possible that his scene is going to be limited to just the opening scene, and his involvement is the fact that it could be as brief as it is might spoil something about the opening scene, and maybe they're afraid of that part of it getting out. I'm hinting at the fact that maybe he dies in the opening scene.
Yeah.
And they don't want, like, he and Peggy just either get kidnapped or something horrifying happens to him that just shocks us the way Loki's death at the beginning of Infinity War shocked us, or the way that Hawkeye's family's dusting at the beginning of Endgame shocked us. Like, these guys have a formula, and I feel like we're going to see that formula in Doomsday as well. And if that is how Doomsday begins, what a shocking way to begin, that the happy ending that we saw at Endgame was not going to be happy.
And like kind of a fun inversion of his cameo in Deadpool and Wolverine, that's mostly played for laughs and surprise. And this will also be surprising, technically. Yeah. But like not played for laughs.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that is shocking. And who knows, maybe that happy ending is restored at the end of Secret Wars and we see something else about them. But yeah, you know, I maybe also like there's a specific reason the 26 names or 27 names were shared on March 26th. And they really just want to leave out names like Chris Evans. Maybe they want that opening scene to be as like surprisingly wonderful as they're hoping it was, at least on the scripted page. And in order to preserve that, they don't even want us thinking of this movie going into the marketing, knowing anything about that scene being possible.
Yeah.
Because like to say that Chris Evans or Haley Atwell are in the movie, if you're Marvel Studios, you are implying a couple potentially really big possibilities. One being that, okay, we're going to see multiversal versions of heroes that we saw before, which other than Robert Downey Jr. coming back as Doom, they haven't really committed to that or saying that it's going to happen, or that we're going to revisit the events of that final scene from Endgame. And I don't think they want to spoil that either. But we're okay speculating it because we have no idea. We're just theorizing.
It's rumor rundown.
And it's the rumor rundown. Well, of course, dealing with rumors.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think that's why. Now, yeah, and I don't think Chris Evans is even in the particular shape he was when he was shooting the 2011 Cap film, the 2014 Winter Soldier, or Civil War.
Like the irony of the speculation being like he got jacked for what might end up being a 2-minute cameo,
right,
or whatever. It's like I think he's always jacked.
I think he's always in pretty good shape.
Or he's just, you know, maybe he's had a little time off. He was in Materialist, Honey Don't, and The Sacrifice, all of which The Sacrifice may or may not come out this year, but like the other two have come out in this year. Maybe he's been really busy, or he was really busy, and maybe he's had a little break. And, you know, for some of us, when we have a little vacation, a little break from being busy, we sit on the couch and binge, eat, and watch. But maybe Chris Evans is like, I've got a vacation. Let me get ripped.
And some of us sit on the couch, binge, eat, and watch 12 months out of the year.
Yeah, that's true.
But which is why I'm kind of like, well, I don't know. This is all a black box to me. But I do find it interesting that you point out that, like, yeah, he is in these other movies, and Sacrifice in particular. I haven't seen a trailer for it, but just off from the plot description, I think he is playing an action movie star who gets kidnapped by this cult.
I think it's a Three Amigos-esque thing where he's an action star but is playing the actor who is the action star but then is pulled into action. I guess that's also Tropic Thunder.
It's a bit, or a bit like the Fall Guy kind of has some stuff. So I think that is part of why he has to be in such good shape. But in Knives Out, he's just wearing that lumpy, wondrul sweater the whole time.
Yeah, and in obviously he's had a number of roles kind of concurrent with the Infinity War Endgame era, and then since then he has not stopped working. But he's done movies like Red One.
Oh yeah,
Level One Naughty Lister. Ghosted, where he's not necessarily. I mean, in Red One, I think he's playing a computer programmer or something like that. Believe it or not, I didn't see that film. But
what?
Like he's opposite The Rock, who is big and jacked, but like Chris Evans is wearing like long sleeves and whatever, right? Like his fitness and hot bod are not important plot elements to his character.
Do you think The Rock has to share the screen with people who are still kind of fit and kind of beefy? Like even like Kevin Hart, while he's short and comedically short,
great shape,
very, very good shape. Jack Black, obviously he's in the shape that he's in, but he's a larger than life persona. He's The Rock was in that movie Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, Jason Statham.
I mean, Idris Elba and Ryan Reynolds, and all of them are very fit people.
And his Fast and Furious entries, right? Opposite Vin Diesel and others.
Do you think you'll never see The Rock in a movie with like Michael Cera or Jesse Eisenberg because it'll break our brains? It's like there's too much of a contrast.
Well, I mean, it's a good point because another film festival photo that's been making lots of news is The Rock showing up at the Smashing Machine premiere in Venice, and it looks like a meal that the old Rock would eat or whatever. You know what I mean? He's much smaller. He's noticeably slimmed down, especially like the trailer for the Smashing Machine is arguably like the most jacked The Rock we've ever seen, playing real life MMA fighter Mark Kerr. And then to see him at the premiere for that film, which, the film was probably shot a year ago, whatever. The Rock also recently had a WWE run where he kind of came back in the ring, kind of culminated in the spring at WrestleMania. But yeah, he's kind of like noticeably slimmed down, and that's because he's playing a 70-year-old in an upcoming kind of weird fantasy movie, which him getting skinny doesn't make him look any closer to 70, but I guess him being gigantic and muscular certainly hurts that.
Yeah. It is interesting the more I research this. Men's Health will do a lot. I think there's someone who works at Men's Health who's a fan of New Rockstars, by the way.
Oh, cool.
If you look up like Google alerts about New Rockstars from other media publications, like there's a bunch of Men's Health. Like there's someone there who's like, yes, what's New Rockstars saying? But anyway, they do a lot of articles on like these actors and the kind of fitness regimen they need. So anytime there's a superhero movie comes out, someone on that movie is going to do an interview with Men's Health that kind of talks about what the regimen was. And in 2021, Rob McElhenney did this when we had the fit Mac, the muscular Mac, from Always Sunny in Philadelphia, when he got in amazing shape. And this is just kind of like this crazy experiment that McElhenney did to go swinging wildly in different directions. And this quote is crazy because he actually reached out to the Hollywood fitness experts that like do consult and will work for the studios as these trainers. And here's what McElhenney said. He said, I'm going to break it down for you because it's actually quite simple and anybody can do this. Anybody on the planet can do this. First things first, if you have a job, like a 9-to-5 job, quit that. Do you like food? Forget about that because you're never going to enjoy anything you eat. Alcohol? Sorry, that's out. So what you need to do, you have a chef, right? Like a personal chef. Make sure the chef makes you a lot of chicken breast and make sure you keep your caloric intake at a certain level. And as you go to your physician 2 to 3 times a week, just to monitor all your testosterone levels, because testosterone is important to building muscle. You're good friends with the trainer from Magic Mike, Aaron Babayan? So you want to give Aaron a call. And you want to make sure he's at your house and takes you to the gym at least twice a day because you're going to want to do your muscle building in the morning and then your cardio in the afternoon. Now, do you have a family, like a significant other or kids? Yeah, forget about them. You're not going to have time to deal with them. So that's really all you have to do. And make sure you have a studio pay for the entire thing because it's exceptionally expensive.
And I think this is a fun topic, and Rob McElhenney did a hilarious job of kind of lampooning this. But anytime particularly when an actor first gets maybe an actor you did not normally associate with big muscles or whatever, or, Sacha Baron Cohen Did a whole run through
yeah.
the fitness magazines recently because he did a men's health photo shoot where he's all ripped and has abs. I mean, it was synced up to his appearances in Ironheart as Mephisto, even though nary a shirt or even forearm is exposed.
At some point, the sleeves are rolled up a little
Maybe,
bit. And you can see some veins going up there.
But absolutely, we could not tell in the watching of that show that he was ripped. But though I think that hits on an important point that I want to come back to for Chris Evans. The real reason Sacha Baron Cohen got ripped, he got divorced. That's the real reason.
If you have a lot of free time.
He has a lot of free time and maybe a motivation to look good naked. Yeah. Maybe dealing with depression or loneliness and needing an outlet for some of that. Maybe finding some solace in exercise and the structure that can provide in your life, maybe when some structure has been removed. But an important other biographical detail about Chris Evans that might help explain some of like his appearance at TIFF. Chris Evans, 44 years old, not too much older than me, married to a 28-year-old gorgeous Portuguese actress. Now, would it matter if his wife was also 44 years old? No, but maybe there is a motivation to stay in really good shape.
Now, how old was she when he was 18?
Okay. There's a 16-year age gap.
How old? Look, we could really piss a lot of people off and just go through Hollywood and look at everyone who has such an age gap. But I'm just saying it's odd. And look, we know friends in our lives who have these. I have people in my family who have not that pronounced of an age gap. I just think keep it within a decade, for the love of God.
I feel like I could be getting misquoted, and I'm not saying I believe this. I've heard people say split your age in half and add 7 years, and that's the appropriate.
I still don't think that's appropriate.
Now that, if you did that for Chris Evans, that would be 29. So technically, she's still right underneath that.
That's right. It's still underneath. I mean, DiCaprio, plenty of way worse offenders in this regard. Really, we have a mutual friend who I was part of like a movie watching club with her, who like anytime we watched a movie and talking about like characters in a relationship in a movie that are visibly part of different generations, and like looking up the age gap. And if it's like, my God, like, and I think their point was like, not that it's the case in a movie that came out in the 70s or 80s, or this is even more commonplace, but that you so rarely see the opposite. Yes. It's so rare that you see an older woman with a younger man.
When Tom Cruise is paired with a woman who's even just 10 years younger than him, we're like, yay! Like Jennifer Connelly. Jennifer Connelly is younger than Tom Cruise, but not 25 years younger than Tom Cruise. So people are like, age appropriate. I mean, but
she was a teenager in Labyrinth when Tom Cruise was in Top Gun.
Yeah, but he wasn't, but he had to be he was only in his 20s though,
still,
right?
She was presenting as like a teenage, like a 14-year-old.
Yes. Well, we'll never know the true age difference between
That's the real danger zone.
Yes. Or Rebecca Ferguson, probably only in her 40s. Tom Cruise, again, now in his 60s, but it's close. At least it's not Tom Cruise and Sydney Sweeney. Tom Cruise and Zendaya, at least they're not being paired together.
It's not. Look, there are far worse things in the world that we could spend our time talking about. If they're two consenting adults and everyone's happy and there's equity generally in the relationship, what business of it is mine? Right. I just think it's like, you would think you would have the fact that DiCaprio just doesn't give a and he keeps doing it, or like Bill Belichick doesn't give a
Dude,
and it's
Bill
like with someone who could be his granddaughter. Like the is going on with these men?
I mean, there is, I think you get to a place where now, your horniness could outweigh your shame. I think that we can't undersell that. Or, I think there's also sometimes people hit a midlife crisis or whatever. Their brains break a little bit. Who knows? Well, and I think this comes back to, we were kind of talking about if in a world in which he's not in Doomsday or he's not super fit because he's in Doomsday, the other reasons Chris Evans would want to be getting more jacked or more fit than normal for him.
Just maintaining your image as much, and there's a lot of pressure to do that. I guess you know more about this than I would, Zach. To look as he does at TIFF, does it require what McElhenney's talking about here? Or can there be a lesser amount of discipline to still look that good?
I think, incredible shape. And here's an important thing to note about Chris Evans in this photo that I do want to credit him for. it's one thing to have big muscles, and it's another thing to be incredibly lean and like have really
cut,
low body
rips,
fat.
Yeah,
right?
where you can see the ridges of the abs
Yes,
and everything.
like, Vin Diesel or The Rock, giant muscles. Somebody like Ryan Reynolds or Ryan Gosling, great abs or whatever.
The Brad Pitt and Fight Club abs.
Yes. Yeah. But if you were to look at like the width of an arm on a Ryan Gosling or a Ryan Reynolds and compare it to the width of an arm on a Dwayne The Rock Johnson, though they both appear in great shape on film, like a much smaller human being, right? Ryan Gosling in Fall Guy is probably 190 pounds, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson in Smashing Machine is probably 260, right? Like he's an extra half of a person or whatever, right? Like mass, but it is, your body doesn't want you to really be both incredibly lean and incredibly large, right? Like as you start kind of like losing weight to have really low body fat, usually you lose muscle as well. And you look more like Christian Bale in The Machinist than a bodybuilder, right? Or you could just gain mass like Tom Hardy as Bane, right? Like Tom Hardy as Bane does not have abs. He has big old shoulders and arms
big ab.
and kind of a barrel chest, but there's no six pack there, right? Because he was just trying to get as large as possible. Yeah. Even I think David Cornsweet as Superman gained a lot of weight. I think there's some numbers getting thrown around like 35 pounds or something like that. But like, there's no shirtless scenes.
Yeah, and we don't need
Superman. Yeah, and he doesn't have abs because he was probably mostly focused on mass and less focused on low body fat. And so all that is to say, Chris Evans in this photo, he's kind of turning, you could see how narrow his waist is. He is incredibly lean and has great muscle size in his chest and arms and shoulders. And I think like some of that is, though he's older now, when you have been fit for a really long time, right? And he's been in that kind of a shape for 20-ish years, right? Like there is like muscle memory and like your body reaches kind of a stasis point where it gets like, not that it's easy to maintain that fitness, but it's easier for him than somebody who's never looked like that, right?
Yeah.
He also might be genetically predisposed.
Yes. Genetics have a lot to do with this.
Right? Yeah. Like some people are, genetically kind of soft doughy and some people are gorgeous Adonises who, was a teenage model or whatever. I mean, Chris Evans.
Adonis is like a good word for it because I think a lot of people fail to realize when we the mass public idolizes movie stars and TV stars. If you were to meet a movie star in real life, there's a weird cognitive dissonance that kicks in where you're like, oh, you look weird. Like that's my read. This is just me talking.
Yes.
They have faces and body structures that are made for big screen cinema projection. But like if you see them in the real world, you're kind of like, oh, no one looks like this.
Yeah, they often,
you were like printed off of a weird press.
There's often like, a head to body proportion disparity. Often celebrities have really big heads,
right?
Or some of their features are just like almost cartoonish, like how big their eyes are, or something like that.
And some people bypass this, like comedic actors. Definitely, I would even say wrestlers like The Rock and John Cena. Like they have weird kind of faces, but like because their whole presence is known and is a full package. But if you were to meet like Daniel Radcliffe, if you meet like Timothée Chalamet, and I have met Daniel Radcliffe, I've not met Timothée Chalamet, but I've just seen celebrities at events, and I'm just kind of like, oh, what makes you look really cool on a big screen makes you a little strange to see in person, but it's almost like seeing a god. It's like someone who does not walk on this mortal plane with the rest of us monsters.
And frequently, we've both lived in Los Angeles for a long time. Sometimes you're at a grocery store or a gym or a mall or whatever, and like out of the corner of your eye, you just see a person. And you're like, what? You're like somehow like if you're like looking at the back of them or something like that, and you just get a sense of like, what's up with that person? And then they turn around and it's Jenna Elfman from Dharma and Greg or whatever. You know what I mean? And you're like, oh, no wonder you caught my eye. There was something about you. There was aura, or like you're a little bit taller than everybody else here, or you're a little bit more petite than everybody else here, or something about that. There often is like a specialness to their physical presence, right?
And I've, just being around LA and just going to Gelson's or just crossing a crosswalk sometimes, you do pass people who are photographed on television and in movies. And especially if I'm at like an industry event, the few times I've been invited to a premiere or at a press event where there's a junket and there's like Julia Garner's walking down the hallway past me, I always feel a little like, God, it must be really hard to be you. It must be really hard to just always be on, to always have, like, I get the kind of Britney Spears, She's So Lucky creed of like, God, because it's like, I personally, myself, I am happily married and I'm very much attracted to my wife. And like, my forces of attraction are very different in the real world. I think we are hardwired as human beings to be attracted to people in physical settings, not through a televised medium screen.
Yeah.
So if you go to these events and see someone, like I've never been to an event with like Sydney Sweeney or any other kind of icon right now, but I don't know if in real life I would, if you would react the same way, because you're seeing a real human being who's not like an icon who's made to attract certain senses,
Yes.
and you kind of sense like, oh God, how many hours did you have to spend to get made up for this event? And you're just kind of like, I wish that you could just kind of like just do your work and not have to like, present so much.
It is. And, famously Ben Affleck did an interview in the last couple of years where he was like, do you want to be, when people ask they want to be rich and famous, like just take the rich.
Yeah.
The famous is
the
rough.
famous is the worst part.
And
yeah.
speaking of, I've stood next to Ben Affleck in real life. Talk about, and this is like 2016. This is like during DC Batman Batfleck era. Gigantic man. Now
he's so tall. He's like 6'4",
bulkier at the time too,
Yeah.
and also just a huge human being too.
He's got a big head.
Yes,
Yeah.
big head, broad shoulders, kind of big barrel torso.
Yeah.
Big guy. Yeah,
Big guy. So I guess like what I am wondering is like, are there certain, maybe this is overthinking it too much, but are there certain muscle groups that these actors work out because they pop on screen? Like I imagine, for example, most of them don't care as much about working out their legs for these shoots.
Yeah.
With the exception of America's ass.
Yes. Which, you could, it is a covered ass. So you could cheat a little bit, and I guess with superheroes, again, a lot of them, even Ant-Man, in both of his first two films has shirtless scenes, right? Even though that's not a character who has super strength right? Like Paul Rudd didn't need to get ripped. No. And that was actually, he trained for a year leading up to the first Ant-Man. Actually, the man who trained him, Brendan Johnston, is kind of like the official Marvel Studios physical trainer in that, like, he doesn't work with all the actors, but like in the few weeks leading up to the production of the film, he kind of like gets them trained right before the movie and then keeps them trained during the movie. But then they go off and work with their own trainers or whatever. But he was Paul Rudd's personal trainer for a year leading up to Ant-Man, and like talks a lot about like, how proud, like Paul Rudd had not been, obviously he's always like a normal shaped man, but like had never really worked out before he started training. And he was in his mid 40s.
How did he maintain that appearance without working out for 2 decades? Like,
well, and like, the whole joke of, Paul Rudd's now in his mid 50s.
Yeah. For him, it is genetics. It's 100%.
Clearly.
Yeah.
But, I don't doubt that the last 10 years of his agelessness has been impacted somewhat by his, fitness regime.
Yeah. A lot of these guys, you look into them and when they do long podcasts and stuff, and they'll say like, well, I went sober at this age, or like I went vegan at this age.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, okay. Well, that's probably a big part of it.
Because I think like a lot of people can get away with a lot of stuff when they're younger, but as you age, your margin for error with your body, your appearance narrows down. You maybe have to be a little bit more conscious about taking care of yourself, whether that's diet, fitness, rest, substances, all that kind of stuff. And so what were we just talking about?
Paul Rudd.
The specific muscles, right? So, and I think, one of the top names we think about when we think about in shape superhero actors, Hugh Jackman, who has had a fascinating arc in that he has gotten in better shape over the lifespan of his Wolverine performance, right? In the first Wolverine, does he have a shirtless scene?
He does. He runs through the basement of the X Mansion, but
right.
He famously is just kind of fairly regularly fit. Looks very healthy. He put on a lot of muscle mass, but not to the degree that he did for these later films.
Especially like the Wolverine solo movies, or when he really started, and there'd be a conscious like, coming up out of the water shot or whatever in each movie.
X-Men Origins of Wolverine, followed by the James Mangold, The Wolverine. He definitely has a different physique in those.
Yes, and then obviously he even in his mid 50s now, Deadpool and Wolverine has that scene at the end of the movie. They kind of call it out and make a joke of it, but he's so ripped. And I think like that he's a great example of, and he's also one of the ones who does all the interviews when these movies come out, talking about his fitness routine and all the tilapia he had to eat or whatever. He did all these interviews around Deadpool and Wolverine saying he ate 6,000 calories a day to gain a bunch of muscle. But like, and I don't doubt that, but also it's mostly he's incredibly lean. Right? Like he works out really hard, but he's not, again, he is nowhere near the muscle mass of The Rock or whatever. He is incredibly low body fat. And again, you can time things, you can peak where like you're able to kind of flush all the water from your system, kind of dries yourself out. You're able to see more detail in your abs and your shoulders and things like that. And so like, it's clear he kind of peaks for that. He's obviously in great shape throughout the filming of those films, but like he knows that day that his clothes are going to get blasted off of him, right?
And he's done this so many times.
Yes.
I think you're right. The guys who have done it again and again and again are, for them, they just understand their instrument better than the first time Chris Pratt got jacked for Guardians of the Galaxy, So like it becomes almost like with repetition because it requires so much discipline and so much sacrifice to even look close to that.
Yes.
Like that's what I always ask, like, yes, obviously there's an economic purpose for this. It gets a lot of people to come see these movies. It makes a comic book come to life if someone can look that shredded. Is it healthy to aspire to that?
It's a great question. There's a big debate about like unattainable physiques and what that does. And to give credit to them, somebody like Thor, who's not meant to be an attainable physique. He's meant to be a Nordic god, right?
Yeah.
Also based on comic book characters that are nowhere realistic to human proportions too, especially, in the 90s Rob Liefeld era where everybody, even the like scientist characters would have giant muscles or whatever.
Just insane, yeah.
That is a good question. And like, is it healthy? That's great. I will say the argument that it is healthy. And again, these are vain actors who maybe are aging and want to maintain their attractiveness, their hireability, whatever, their appeal to the opposite gender or people that would find their gender attractive. And you could see too that a job like being a big Hollywood star is an incredibly chaotic career, right? Month to month, year to year, you were doing completely different things. You might be flying to Bulgaria or Ireland or Spain to shoot a movie, and then you're back. Now you're doing a Netflix series, and you're doing a movie, and you got to bulk up, and now you got to get a haircut, and all this. Like their lives are pretty chaotic, right? But the structure and the predictability of a fitness routine can be a centering force in that, and maybe like even help their mental health, right? You know that like whatever country or time zone or whatever I'm in, Dwayne Johnson brings his gym with him to every set.
Which is so funny.
All the weights and all the equipment. And he knows no matter where in the world he is, no matter what his schedule's like, he can find time to go to the exact same gym and work out, right? And that must be a nice centering thing for him in his life.
I could see that.
Right?
I could see that.
On the other end, the unhealthiness of it, right? It's not great to bulk up or, crash diet. Ben Affleck's friend, Matt Damon, famously got really messed up on the set of the Meg Ryan, it was Courage Under Fire.
Oh, yeah.
One of his earliest roles, he crash dieted because he felt like his character should be really thin and like has said that like, he had like brutal headaches for years after that and like kind of messed up his metabolism and all this kind of stuff. So like certainly you want to do it healthily. That was also a young, maybe not super rich Matt Damon. These guys have lots of doctors and trainers that can advise them in better ways to do it. And we should talk. We haven't even talked about steroids yet.
Oh, yeah.
We should talk about
Let's
steroids.
talk about it, yeah.
Because like obviously Dwayne Johnson is on steroids. Obviously Chris Hemsworth is on steroids.
Explain why it's obvious.
Okay, so again, all genetics plays a giant factor and maybe your genetics lead you to have big muscles. But like, again, to be incredibly muscular and very lean is very hard to do. And it is like 0.1% of people can do that without some kind of hormonal help, especially as you age and your natural testosterone levels drop for men, right?
So could it be accomplished without steroids, but with testosterone injections?
Yes. And I guess we have to denote here, like some people refer to steroids as like any performance enhancing substance. And like in the last 10 years or so, there's been the rise of TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, right? And like a lot of people take that just as an anti-aging thing and not necessarily even to change your appearance. But it is also kind of mainstreamed basically taking steroids.
Yeah.
Now you do it under the supervision of a healthcare provider. It's not like gym bros shooting each other in the bum in the back of the gym or whatever, right? Like in theory, you're monitoring blood levels and it's not reaching the point of drug abuse. It's just drug use, right? And there's a lot of people that like say it's like improve their life quality and all this kind of stuff. I mean, HGH can be used in similar ways. So it's 100% guaranteed that The Rock is on some of those substances, if not more extreme ones, right? To get in the shape that he's in the Smashing Machine, there were a lot of substances taken for sure. And like, which is fine. Who cares? Again, that's between him and his doctor. I mean, you could argue that it's like he's a role model and he's the number of people seeing that type of body and aspiring to it and in a way that is unrealistic for them without taking exogenous drugs is maybe not great, but whatever. I mean, Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were doing this 40 years ago in major blockbusters. So maybe that damage is done. I don't know.
Yeah, and you know what you're talking about, other than some of the specific substances that now exist more and are more freely used, this whole conversation of aspirational body image and body dysmorphia that exists within the fitness and bodybuilding community has been around for a long time.
Yes.
And like, yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger, but what those guys, a lot of those guys have done, especially Arnold, have been like getting out there on the front lines and trying to inspire people to stay fit and stay healthy and talking about some of the positive aspects of fitness rather than the aspirational, like, push your body to an extreme limit that it isn't supposed to go in.
No, and I think like I don't even want to demonize any of these people that are almost certainly taking drugs. I think it is a shame in that it can feel kind of dishonest. You know, if Chris Hemsworth, who has kind of a fitness empire that he has built, right? An entrepreneurial business that is all about workouts. And like, I don't, you know, I think that's great. And I don't knock him for that. But like, if the 1-to-1 is like, do my workouts and look like Thor, like there is a missing thing that you're not disclosing, right? And it's not just eating broccoli, rice, and chicken breasts that get you to look like these guys. They're doing other stuff. And I wonder if eventually the discourse will be open enough that people can kind of admit, like, yeah, I had the help of a doctor helped me out, monitor my levels, and like, oh, I happen to have a testosterone deficiency. Conveniently, right when I needed to get ripped and jacked, my doctor gave me some, you know what I mean? But I don't think like they still can't kind of talk about that without getting demonized for being a juice head or using steroids, right? I wonder if we'll get there someday or if some Hollywood stars will kind of start talking about that. I don't think they can yet. I would it's still like a hot button issue.
And it's still difficult for their brand.
Yes.
But I think I agree with you. I think they should be more open about this, and hopefully people like McElhenney will be.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're starting to see more comedians get in on this, whether it's Kumail, Chris Pratt, or McElhenney, and guys who are less part of like used to playing the hunky. I mean, Chris Evans used to be kind of a jokey actor. Like in the aughts, he was in Not on the Teen Movie. He was in The Perfect Score. He was in these like teen rom-coms, you know? Ryan Reynolds, certainly a comedy guy, but I feel like Ryan Reynolds has always been handsome, and it's not his comedy chops that it's gotten him work. It's his looks for most of his career. But I think the thing that scares me more is something that we can't control as much is like the idea of social media and how TikTok and Instagram are projecting these fitness expectations back on people, and just this whole issue of male loneliness that like we don't really have any quick fixes or easy answers to. But like we are seeing a very scary combination of like, I think just, you know, we haven't properly learned how to socialize in a lot of ways in the digital age, and people don't stay friends after college, or maybe don't have a good high school experience, or whatever it was, whatever are the reasons for the social breakdown. I think there is just like there is a real issue of loneliness in a generation that's creeping up. And I think this is one scary path that it can go in.
Or people make friends at the gym.
Yeah. Hey, if they could, that'd be great. But do you see people meeting friends at the gym, or are they plugging in?
Well, there are people that I think particularly there's some subsets of young men that like bond with their gym bro guys. Okay. Right. Like I've been that guy before who likes to go to the gym with his friends. Right. And like, whether now if those gym friends are like, again, abusing illegal drugs, not great maybe for anybody's
I feel
life.
like that's less common in the circumstance you're talking about. I think any way that you can make friends through active physical stuff. My worry is that like people, I don't know, I feel like a lot of people nowadays are making lifelong friendships just through the internet and they never meet these people. And is that a real friendship if you only are internet friends with someone?
Well, and even to extend that, the parasocial relationship lots of us have with famous actors and celebrities, right? Like, is that ultimately healthy for you? The non-famous person end of that, right? Like, are you one of these maniacs that's looking at a picture of Chris Evans at TIFF and then spending 45 minutes on a podcast talking about...
We've come full circle and how unhealthy it's been for me and you to even think about this. But I did want to talk with you about this, Zach, because I think you do have insights into like what the actual discipline, and both of us have worked in this industry long enough and have been either friends with people who are getting in really good shape trying to get roles and just the pressure that they're under. And
I think I talked about this in the break room recently, like, I have so much respect as somebody who exercises a lot and never really gets in good shape. So people that are able to accomplish being in good shape and knowing we know well, like the stresses of being, especially the lead actor in a major movie. Okay. This is like, you're working incredibly long hours, right? You have tons of dialogue to learn. You have blocking and stunts and all this kind of stuff. On top of that, you can't just grab a granola bar or pop a 7-Up anytime you want, right? Like you also then have to be incredibly disciplined in how you eat and how you train, right? Like on top of your 12-hour days of shooting, you've got another 2 hours of exercise or whatever, right? It is so difficult and stressful. And like anytime I see a video of like Christian Bale on the set of that one Terminator movie screaming at the crew, right? That's not a good thing. And I don't condone that. But also it's like, my man Christian Bale's under a lot of pressure. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, good for you. Right?
He might not have had a carb in 10 days at that point. You know what I mean? Like, you can snap.
And similarly, David O. Russell and Lily Tomlin were just doing burpees every morning when they were screaming at each other. No, this has been helpful to know because I often will jump to conclusions when I see people looking particularly fit, whether it's a photo of like Charlie Cox really sweating hard, and I think just a lot of people just for their general career need to try to maintain some semblance just in case they do get the call that it's not going to be like, whoa, couch potato to active guy, that they're at a good baseline.
And I think it's fascinating when an actor who's not necessarily in that super fit niche decides like, I want to go for that, like Kumail. Like J.K. Simmons in the bearded, ripped curl.
What was that
photo.
even for again?
I mean, I thought it was for Batman vs. Superman, right?
Oh, I thought it was for like Whiplash or something because he did have to be pretty like.
And he's gone. I mean, in Oz, he was pretty fit way back in the day. Like J.K. Simmons was not coming out of nowhere, but people were like, damn, the Santa Claus looking muscle man, I love it when somebody like that gets really fit. Though, you know what? Also, more power to the actors that stay unfit. I don't need Paul Giamatti to ever get ripped. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I want like a level of health, like a restraint.
Yes.
But yeah.
We don't want any Chris Farleys going off the deep end.
Yeah.
But also, we need some bulky bodies out there.
We need some
soft
realistic
people. I have a problem with film and TV shows when everybody's hot.
Yeah.
Every single cast member. The nerdy secretary is a 9.5, and like the janitor is like a former football player. It's like, I don't need that shit. You can have normal bodies mixed in with the gorgeous, beautiful people too, right?
So you're like a John Hamm, a John Hamm, he's definitely a fit guy, but got a good 60s build, I don't think we've ever seen John Hamm with abs.
Body.
Paul Newman body. There's something like, okay, that's realistic. It's attainable.
It's a fit, handsome man. Yeah. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's less attainable because it's like, I'm never going to have John Hamm's face.
Right, I know. Well,
but I can like maybe have kind of his torso someday.
I could maybe someday put a brown paper bag over John Hamm's head and I could no, I don't even think I'll get that. Yeah. But yes, this has been an interesting conversation.
Who's our best non-ripped, never got ripped actor? Is it Leo?
Like most accomplished?
Yes.
Definitely Leo. Because Leo has been in really good shape before.
Yeah, like Blood Diamond, that kind of early. But like, he's now been on quite a run of not being necessarily in hot body shape.
Yeah, when was he in like the best shape for? Because he's never played a superhero. Yeah, maybe Blood Diamond.
Maybe like the Departed era.
Departed,
he was still very fit then.
Just but kind of wiry and stringy for that role.
Yeah, athletic kind of. And yeah, Catch Me If You Can, all of that. He was kind of still very boyish. Boyish fit then.
DiCaprio is definitely the biggest star and maybe the most most talented actor who has not really committed to that as much as they have.
Because I mean, even going back, De Niro and Raging Bull got in like incredible shape, right? In the 80s, like there's a long history of even guys you don't associate with being really fit. They have at least their one or two roles where they're like, I'm going to play a boxer. I'm going to, get super hot or whatever.
I mean, you could say Philip Seymour Hoffman, was someone, but we did lose him too early, for many reasons. But it's really sad because he was definitely, I think, our best working actor who did not care at all about that kind of thing.
Even though, like, we could do a whole episode on this, like, Philip Seymour Hoffman, though, always, kind of had his kind of plump body, but like was so like athletic as a performer.
Yeah, and so physical. Like
physical.
He looked like he could lay out anyone. He definitely looked like he could beat up Tom Cruise in that movie.
Physically dynamic and agile and energetic, even in kind of he also has that great basketball scene in the
Make It Rain. Along Came Polly. Judas.
God, I miss Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I know. I think about him all the time.
Why are so many terrible people still alive and Philip Seymour Hoffman's gone?
People who were in worse shape than Philip Seymour Hoffman was when
Folks,
he died of an overdose.
Yeah, don't do drugs. I think like if you take anything away from this episode, don't abuse drugs. Don't do dangerous things like opiates if you can avoid them at all. Because then we don't want to lose you any more than we lost Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of the true treasures of humanity.
Well, do you think we'll see any actor in our lifetimes who is as good as he was? Are we currently seeing, is a Chalamet or an Austin Butler getting there? Or is a Cooper Hoffman getting there? I don't know. Even Cooper Hoffman said he feels anxiety. Like if his dad were still alive, he'd critique his acting.
Yeah, I don't think Cooper Hoffman has a shot. No, he's a fine actor. He's a fine actor. God, that's a great question. Because you talk to like any other actor from the last 20 years, they all acknowledge like, oh yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman was the best.
I mean, even Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is incredible. But like Hoffman just had a fire to him that I don't know if, I don't know. You can make an argument there.
Maybe. I hope we live in a world with multiple people doing work at the level that he did. Yeah.
Well, this has been a very interesting conversation. And hopefully, to assign a scoop or poop, I think we can say it is a poop if you just assume based off of how Chris Evans looked at Tiff that he's definitely playing Steve Rogers. But I think in conjoinment with other reporting we've heard about Avengers Doomsday, I think it can be supporting evidence that, well, he's in good enough shape to show up as Cap in a movie. Is it a little weird to have that conversation? Yes, I think we can. But also these actors are putting their bodies on display and their fitness is part of why they're paid the millions that they're paid. So I think it's okay to look at this. But as long as we're not like overly critiquing or body shaming. Yeah. That's definitely not what we intend to do.
No,
in this at all.
We're famously pro all bodies.
We are, and in humble appreciation of the work and sacrifice.
We love your lumpy
in.
bodies, your pasty bodies, your sweaty bodies, your hairy bodies, your short bodies, your tall bodies.
The bodies that have let themselves go over time.
Still
look
gorgeous.
No further. If anything, that's what I'm trying to represent to you by not taking that great a care of myself on camera.
Rob McElhaney absolved all of us of feeling guilt for this. None of us have the resources or the time or the ability to do this. I appreciate you, Rob, for announcing that I did this, but nobody else will ever be able to do this. Yeah.
Well, Zach, this has been great chatting with you. Thank you all for watching, and big thanks to Brian Kim for producing and editing this episode.
Oh, also a quick shout out to our friends at Zipstring. It's a fun little kind of playful gadget.
Whoa.
They've got a new project called the Zipstring Arachna. Look at this. I don't know if you can kind of tell in these lights, but it's this little you shoot at this string off of this wrist guard, and this one even lights up. It kind of glows in the dark. It's called the Arachna, as in, similar to a spider's web. They've got a Kickstarter going on for this particular model. The normal zip string you kind of hold in your hand, you don't wear, is available for sale. They famously went on Shark Tank, but you can pre-order and support their Kickstarter by going to the link in this video's description. And you could do kind of You can mess with your friends. And they're silly. There's all like tricks and stuff like that. Anyways, we've been playing with this in the office for a couple weeks. It's a blast. Check out the Zip String Arachna.
Thank you again for watching. Subscribe to all the channels in the New Rockstars Network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.